Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all already know. This is a dumping because, see, recently I have been hearing a lot about how fathers is not held responsible, how taking ownership of your shit should be taken ownership of. But listen to me. I have talked about a lot of stuff when it came to my mom and her side of the family. But today, we're going to start a whole new chapter. Today, we're going to start off with my dad and his side of the family. See, we talk about a lot of stuff on here, but we never talk about that. But we're going to talk about that today because I'm gonna dissolve some of the myths that I've heard recently about dads when they leave daughters and all this old extra shit, how they try to not hold accountability. I'm holding you accountable, Dad. I'm holding you accountable for the way that I was raised. So buckle up, buckles or buckaroos or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a ride, baby. We're going to take you on a ride. And this, my friends, is a story. Now, I told y'all in the story before that my dad left when my sister was 14 and I was 12. Which, you know, 9 times out of 10, that was his choice. You know what I'm saying? He did blame my mom for 90% of the reason why he left. But it wasn't just her. It wasn't just her. It was him too. But see, my whole thing with my dad holding my dad responsible. See, yesterday and today, I have been thinking about my dad really heavy. And I told y'all before, when I start thinking like that, I just want to talk about it. So I'm going to go back to how this stuff started with my mom and my dad. See, my dad blamed my mom for a lot of reasons why he left. My dad blamed my mom she wasn't supposed to be having no kids. I didn't want kids. This is my dad. This is the things that my dad said in front of me and Monique when we was growing up. That he didn't want no kids. He told her not to have no more motherfucking kids. He didn't want no kids. Well, guess what? You got kids. See, to me, a dad is supposed to be your protector. A dad is supposed to be your first love. A dad is supposed to be just that. But my dad was none of this. Once my dad moved out, and then he had his life with his girlfriends and all this other stuff, and he did for them, and even if we was in the same city as he was, he didn't do for us. He didn't check on us. He didn't pick us up to take us nowhere. He didn't even want us around his family because he wanted to bring his girlfriend and her family around his family, which was okay with everybody because my mother never bothered him with it. But at the end of the day, this is what made my mom as resentful towards my dad as she was. But this also made us look at my dad totally different because as you see, my dad moved out of town. He was always a good provider. But my dad moved out of town for him to have a better life. And he told my mom this. He told my mom that he wanted to move out, have a better life without us. Because we was holding him back. But he collected taxes on us. Every year so he could take him and his girlfriend on boat rides, on cruises, on vacations, on this, that, and the third, while my mother was struggling. While we had to eat bologna and cheese sandwiches with juice. While we had no electricity. We never had 2 things. All that was for a good year and a half. All at one time. But at the end of the day, my mother never complained because she stayed. My mother wasn't perfect, but she stayed. But then as we got older and my dad would come down here to visit his family and stuff, half the time that he came down, he didn't even tell us that he was coming down. He would come down, see them, and he'll bounce right back out. This is my dad. This is my father. This is the one that gave me life. This is him. But yet still, nobody held him accountable. Nobody held him accountable. Nobody said, take care of your kids. These are your kids too. Nobody said this. But every time my mother said this, she was bugging him. She was standing his way. She was doing this, that, and the third. But never not once did anybody hold my dad accountable. Stuff like holidays, barbecues, Christmas, and stuff like this, my dad never participated with that. Me and Monique was too old. Monique was old enough to know that my mom couldn't make it. So we made sure that the kids underneath us, which was my brother and my sister, we made sure that they had what me and Monique did without, so that they could have because they was younger. But my dad never thought about this. But see, I didn't find out about how my dad was living until my sister went up there for a couple of months. Not even a year. She went up there. Mark went up there for about a couple of months just to get her life in order. But after she did this and she came back, they was having family cookouts. My dad would cook for them and they would make this, that, and the third. But he never fed us. He never thought that, okay, these is my kids. He never thought like that. But my dad he didn't even think like that. What about when we had to go to prom or when we had to go to father-daughter dances? What if we had to find out why dudes wasn't no good or know the difference between a good dude and a bad dude? That was Eric. Stuff like holidays, barbecues, Christmas, and stuff like this. My dad never participated with that. Me and Monique was too old. Me and Monique was old enough to know that my mom couldn't make it. So we made sure that the kids underneath us, which was my brother and my sister, we made sure that they had what me and Monique did without, so that they could have it because they was younger. But my dad never thought about this. But see, I didn't find out about how my dad was living until my sister went up there for a couple of months. Not even a year. She went up there. Mark went up there for about a couple of months just to get her life in order. But after she did this and she came back, they was having family cookouts. My dad would cook for them, and they would make this, that, and the third. But he never fed us. He never fed us. He never thought that, okay, these is my kids. He never thought like that. But my dad never. He didn't even think like that. What about when we had to go to prom, or when we had to go to father-daughter dances? What if we had to find out why dudes wasn't no good, or know the difference between a good dude and a bad dude? That was Eric. That was Eric that did that. Eric made sure that we took our driver test. Eric made sure that he checked dudes when he thought they wasn't doing no good by us. Eric made sure that to tell us what the difference between a good dude and a bad dude, why we shouldn't be out here being a hoe, and this, that, and the third. Why men will talk about other women being a hoe more than what they was when they shouldn't have been doing that. But this is what Eric was doing. This is how Eric was. This is what Eric chose to do. But at the end of the day, what about everybody else? What about that? What about how that was? What about that? Nobody thought about that. Everybody thought of themselves. I don't know how that was working out for everybody. But everybody thought of themselves. I don't understand. But then everybody blamed my mom for everything. My dad missed all that. But he did this with somebody else in their family. He did. He did this with somebody else in their family. He did this with somebody else and their kids. He did this with somebody else. Period. He did specifically remember Monique asking my dad for money for her wedding. Monique was getting married. And she was asking him, like, Dad, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting married. I want you to be down here. Da, 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 da. He did everything he could not to do for her. And when he did this, he didn't just not do for her. He did not do for her. He didn't help with nothing. He didn't help with anything. He didn't help us with nothing. My mother, my stepdad raised my brother. But at the end of the day, my mom raised my brother also, but my dad never participated in this. See, holding people accountable for the things that they did is more refreshing than trying to hold it in. See, my dad wasn't just the only one at fault. He wasn't. Just like my mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family had to hold accountability too. Because see, I wanted to always feel like a part of my dad's entire family because I looked like them. But not once have I ever felt that close. See, my dad was the type of person that he wanted to party, drink. He wanted to do him. He didn't want responsibility. That he didn't want to have to be responsible for anybody, especially not us. Monique jokingly, after we had got older and the kids was like getting up there in age, Monique asked him. We had the boys with us. Monique asked him. She was like, Dad, which one of these kids is my son? He looked around. It was my son and Monique's two sons. And he looked, and he couldn't even tell. He didn't know what the grandkids looked like. He didn't know what they talk like. He didn't know what they walk like. He didn't know because he didn't know his own kids. So when people saying stuff like I've been seeing recently on there, oh, how people miss my dad, how people doing this for my dad, how people doing that for my dad. But at the end of the day, no. My dad didn't never appreciate what he had. And when he kind of, sort of, a little bit did, it was too late because Monique had passed. We went over to my aunts and them's house and my granny's house and stuff like that, even though my dad had left. But when we would walk in, you're supposed to feel comfortable. And it's not their fault because my dad laid the seed for this. He made sure that we was distant from them because he didn't want to be bothered with us. My dad, I'm not bashing my dad. I'm just telling the truth on him. The reason why I'm saying this is because my dad was wrong. He was wrong. But my dad, he did stuff like he put a wedge between us and his family that's still there even though he's not here. It's still there. But this is what he wanted, so he got what he wanted. And I can't hold my dad. I can't keep dwelling on the same thing. But this is what my dad did. My dad was so into himself. And that made everybody else into themselves. But at the end of the day, I mean, every woman, every girl, every child wants their father. I wanted my dad, but he didn't want us. And how did I know he didn't want us? How did I know he didn't want us was when we got to the funeral. When we got to his funeral, and the kids that he raised and the grandkids that he raised, that wasn't his, but he raised them, so they was his, they was heartbroken. To where I'm still sitting there looking around like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? But, oh, how he was good, Paw, how he was this, how he was that. My son needed his Paw. He wasn't there. Eric was there. My husband was there. But my dad wasn't there. So I'm not going to give him credit for that. See, women nowadays, we give credit to men that don't do shit for our kids. We do. We give credit for them. We give credit to them. We give credit to them, to people that don't come and pick them up, that don't come and see them, that don't help them tie their shoe, that don't tell them that these men ain't no good, that show them how to be a real man, how to fix stuff. But we'll give them credit for buying one pair of shoes a year. We'll be happy about that. No. Miss King was wrong. He was wrong for this. And at the end of the day, we got to the funeral, and then they got to the eulogy and all this other stuff. People take 2 minutes of all this old extra stuff. They kept pushing me and my brother to get up there and talk about my dad. I got up there and I told him, like, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? I don't know him. I don't know nothing about him. I don't know how he smells. I don't know what he eat. I don't know none of this. Because this man left when I was little. He never turned back. He was never a dad to me. He was a father. He was never a dad to me. So no, I didn't give him credit for that. And if a person is mad at me for that, okay, I can deal with that. Let me deal with that. Because they don't know what it's like for your dad to abandon you. If you don't know what that's like, then don't talk on it. Don't speak on it. But every time I turn around, I'm looking at posts about, oh, how a good person he was. And this. He wasn't good to me. He wasn't good to my siblings. He wasn't. He wasn't good to my son. He wasn't good to his grandkids. This man walked away and was making money. To this day, I can't understand why he didn't want to be in our lives. But I can't question that because he's not here. So I didn't have a chance to ask him, why us? Why did you choose us? I can't ask him that. He's gone. But see, this, I'm talking like a daughter to an absent father. I'm talking to a dad that walked away. I'm talking to a dad that never bought me a pair of panties or a pair of drawers. That's who I'm talking to. The same man that was in horseshoe competitions and he could scale oysters with his hands and this and that and the other. He was a dynamic man. He didn't have no dynamics with me. I love my father endlessly. I do. But I love him because he's my father. I don't love him because he done for me. See, at the end of the day, I am a product of an abandoned child by her father. But it didn't stop me. It didn't shake me. It ain't gonna move. It didn't move mountains for me. See, because I actually did grow from the mud. I scraped from the bottom of the earth and got dirt and mixed it with water. I am mud. I came from the mud. I know what it's like to stretch out one box of cereal. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to plug our shit up to the neighbor's house because our electricity off. I know what that's like. So I don't know what it's like to have a man come in, besides Eric, come in and change somebody's motherfucking life for the better. That's all I know. So yeah, this series of stories is going to come from my dad because he didn't do for us. And I don't understand why. But yeah, still, everybody gave me credit. Such a super great person. This is the other side of the super great person. Where was he at? Where were you? You was raising somebody else's kids. You was doing for somebody else's kids. You was a pawpaw to somebody else's grandkids. That's where he was. So yeah, I feel some type of way about this. Because every time I turn around, oh, what a good guy. He's a good guy. The good guy. I think this series of stories is going to come from my dad and his side of the family. So if they're watching, you gotta buckle up because, honey, it's going down. Because I'm going to the same way I told the stories about my mom's side. Honey, listen. My dad's side, it's y'all turn. So, just like I said before, you know, I'm glad that y'all here. And I know I've been absent off of here for a while, but I've been in training at my job that pays my bills. Yeah, that's where I've been. So, yeah, no, that's where I've been. So, I don't know. I think this set of stories is going to come because I'm pissed off. So, I just need to calm down. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a good Sunday. All my clothes washed, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say it before, like I say it all the time. I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate y'all listening. This is a dumping. This is a dumping of my brain because my dad somehow done got in there. So, yeah. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in my next story. Bye.